There's always a chance, especially when the truth teller is here on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. You know he's going to lay this out for you perfectly. But if I may, Rick Ballou, Florida State is playing another team in the ACC at home who also only has that one win on the season. What do you think the chances are for the Noles hosting the Carolina Tar Heels?
Well, I think when you have a quality coach like Mike Norvell, it really doesn't matter who the opponent is, and it really doesn't matter where the game is going to be played. Florida State always has a chance. So, unfortunately, Norvell in this one will make the wrong decision in quarterback Brock Glenn. He will be your starter. So, Seminole fans will have to deal with the fact that they'll be down either 10 or 14-0 midway through the second quarter, when finally Mike Norvell, it'll go ding in his head, and he'll say, let's play the freshman Luke Kromenhoek, and then you'll ask him to put Florida State in a situation where they can come from behind and win a football game.
Rick, what did you think of Luke Kromenhoek last weekend against Miami? Obviously 36-14, but there were definitely some moments, and I think for me, one of the things that kind of popped out is how it did a team that has not been able to run the ball whatsoever was able to get some of those yards on the ground with him.
Yeah, that broken play at the line of scrimmage where it looked like he was tackled and he busted out and went more than 50 yards actually was the best play Florida State has had all season long. It's the longest play they've had all season long. I think he's the real deal. I don't understand the rotation. I don't understand why late in the game they went back to Brock Glenn, who had a 3-and-out, and then he puts together a, last-second touchdown drive, which creates even more of a quarterback controversy. The offensive line has been very suspect this year at Florida State. It's been very poor, and they're not able to run the football. So with Luke Kromenhoek, you have two options. You have him throwing the football, and I will credit Mike Norvell for this. He played the young freshman wide receivers. He played all three of them. Now, neither one of the three are ready yet, and that was evident by watching some drops and what appeared to be not the most accurate routes that were run. But it's the right way to go with this program in a year that has been a disaster. You might as well play your future and find out what you do have. And then Kromenhoek does have the ability to obviously pick up yards on the ground. This is it. I mean, Florida State is not going to have anywhere near a good recruiting class. It's going to be one of the worst recruiting classes they've ever had. So Mike Norvell, and he talked about it a little bit yesterday, he's going to have to go back out into the transfer portal and get a lot of football players. So it's going to be a fresh new team again next season. But his only hope is that Luke Kromenhoek is a football player that you can rely upon and can be there for 2 or 3 seasons and turn this thing around. If it doesn't work with him, then you're starting from scratch again. You're going back into the portal to get someone and tell them to learn a new offense, or you're relying on a younger guy coming out of high school. And, you just don't know how that's going to work out. So I happen to think that Luke Kromenhoek is the brightest thing that Florida State has. But play him. I mean, play him. Why are you going to start Brock Glenn? Why are you going to – it's not going to work with Brock Glenn. They should be playing Kromenhoek and Kromenhoek only.
You get him every night on Into the Night right here on the Superstation. He is Rick Ballou, the truth teller, joining us on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. Rick, I asked plenty of Canes fans around town the last 48 hours or so if they were disappointed that the Canes only put up 36 points on Florida State. Do you think that was more indicative of miscues and perhaps calling the dogs off by Mario Cristobal and company? Or do the Canes have more flaws? Or have the Noles found something on defense?
No, I don't think he called the dogs off because he kept his starters out there, late into the fourth quarter, and they scored that last touchdown. So I think Florida State showed some promise on defense, particularly, there has been some improvement. I look at a guy like Omar Graham, who wears number 9. Florida State fans will attest to this. You watch the first 2 or 3 games this year. I think I even said that Omar Graham should never play another snap of football at Florida State. He was just terrible. He's improved drastically. I think the secondary, some guys there, Earl Little was someone we haven't seen on the field, the first 3 or 4 games, a transfer portal kid who came over from Alabama, really made some plays. The defensive line, I think, has been a colossal disappointment where you have 4 NFL future players that have not played well. But I think the back 7 did a decent job on Sunday. So I think that has a little bit to do with it. It also wasn't the greatest effort for Cam Ward. I mean, this guy's put up 3 or 4 touchdowns about every Saturday. As a Heisman Trophy voter myself, I certainly am observing what he's doing. He managed the game well, and they certainly ran the football well, but it wasn't a great evening as far as him passing it. And here's the other side of it, though. It's always about the offense. If you look at the Canes, their last 3 games before Florida State, they had given up 34 or more points in 3 consecutive games, and they won them all. Yet they held Florida State to 7. Okay, Florida State did score, the last play of the game to put up 14. But again, they're giving up 34 plus, and their defense held Florida State to that one broken play by Kromenhoek, which we mentioned, and that last-second touchdown. So the offense wasn't as good as it could have been, but the defense was simply outstanding for Miami.
What do you think about the Noles defense this weekend? I know we've talked a lot. You see improvements on the defense. UNC put up 41 points last weekend, but for the most part has also been kind of underwhelming. So what are your thoughts on that matchup this weekend?
Yeah, and they're going to be taking on one of the best running backs in America. And again, they were gutted last week by 2 great backs, and Miami really double-fisted where they can throw 2 really good running backs at you. That's going to be the case here for UNC. And, I didn't think that Florida State had a chance against Miami. I thought it would be a 48-10 type of game. It's similar here where the difference is defense, okay? North Carolina allowed 70 points to James Madison. This has been Mac Brown's problem the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, he's got NFL quarterbacks. He's got guys that can spin it all over the place. They just can't play solid defense. Now, you're taking on one of the worst offenses in college football in Florida State. So when it's all said and done, I still think you're going to have to score 30-some-odd points in order to knock off UNC. I just can't see how that's going to happen for Florida State because they're so challenged offensively. UNC is going to be able to run the football right at Florida State. They also have some quality wide receivers and a very good passing offense. So I think this is going to be a tough afternoon for Florida State when it comes to what they're going to have to do defensively. And, it's really one of those games where I think it's a victory for them if you hold UNC to a field goal attempt as opposed to scoring a touchdown. If Florida State plays the way they did last week offensively against Miami, there's just no way. And again, I said it earlier, just Miami, statistically speaking, is not a great defense this year. Even though those transfer portal kids, the one from Michigan State, the one from Tennessee have done a really good job on that defensive front 7, they're still allowing a lot of points, and Florida State couldn't score. So to me, that's the difference in this game. Florida State isn't going to be able to get anything done offensively, and unfortunately, I think that's the reason why they'll end up losing.
Hey guys, Taylor Dahl here. Thanks so much for checking out 1010XL Seminoles page. If you're looking for more college football content, you can head over to the Gators page, or if you want some professional football content, check out our 1010XL Jaguars page.